Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel Easy Sewing with Tyke. Last month was my mom's 60th birthday and she wanted a stunning IRO and BUBA made with aso-oke fabric. Of course, I had to make it special for her. So in today's video, I'll be showing you how I made her outfit. For my non-Nigerian or non-Yoruba viewers, IRO and BUBA simply means wrapper and blouse in English. So throughout the video, I'll use both Yoruba and English translations to keep it clear for everyone. To all my returning subscribers and viewers, thank you so much for your continued support and engagement on my videos. Your likes, comments, and shares means the world to me. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Taiwo, and I'm so glad to have you join us. Be sure to stick around until the end, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment or question, and share it with others so YouTube can recommend it to more people. Also, a quick reminder, kindly watch the ads on my videos as they pop up. It really helps to support my channel. Alright, enough talk. Let's get started. For this sewing project, I'll be making use of 3 packs of aso-oke, 2 patterned and 1 plain aso-oke, as you can see here, especially since the wrapper is a full length wrapper, not a short length. Now, this is how 1 pack of the aso-oke is supposed to look like if you go for the pieces type, that is the one that has not been made into wrapper from scratch. This is still in pieces. As you can see, I'm cutting this off now. So in this pack, it is usually folded into 8 places. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Usually you can go ahead to cut this on the folded part into 8 different parts, but sometimes in rare cases the folding is not usually accurate, so you can fold it into 8 parts by yourself so that you can be sure that you are folding it into equal parts, or just go ahead and cut it off from where they are folded originally like that. Now, this is the wrapper almost ready. Not to worry, I'll be explaining everything as to how I achieved this, and when we get to the sewing machine, I'll be showing you how to join your aso-oke neatly. So I used a full pack for this wrapper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I joined the 8 pieces together to achieve this wrapper. We'll be talking more on that in a bit. But since we are working with a pattern aso-oke, I always just advise, don't join your aso-oke haphazardly, especially when you are working with pattern aso-oke. You want to arrange it, look for ways that you can put it together and it will come out beautiful. As you can see, that was where I started from, and I make sure that 2 designs come together like that, followed by another 2 separate designs, and that was how I arranged this aso-oke to look like this. Since it is a pattern aso-oke, someone else can make this and it will give a different pattern entirely. So always take your time, look at the pattern of your aso-oke, look at how you can arrange it to make it come out very beautiful. Don't just join it haphazardly. Alright, I won't be folding the upper part and the lower part because it is not fraying. Now, the total length I was able to get after joining these 8 pieces of aso-oke together was about 55 inches or more, which is fine for the length of the person that needs this wrapper. If you are working with a much taller person, you might need to join as much as 9 pieces or 10 pieces. Alright, but joining these 8 pieces is enough for the person that would be wearing this aso-oke. Now that we've sorted out the length of the wrapper, moving on to the width. So because I went for a quality aso-oke, I got an aso-oke that has a very good length. So this is one thing you want to take note of when purchasing your aso-oke. Do not buy the aso-oke that has short length. So the total length of each piece of this aso-oke, the way it was folded, is more than 2 yards. I have 2 yards and 18 inches. You can see that is 2.5 yards, which is perfect for the width of the wrapper that I need. This is another pack that I'm yet to cut. You can see how long it is. So please, you want to take note of this when purchasing your fabric. And peradventure, if you had already purchased the aso-oke and the length of each piece is not as long as this, then you want to remeasure it before you cut it out. You know I said that you should fold it into 8 different parts. If you fold it into 2.5 inch and the length of the aso-oke is short, you might not be able to get 8 pieces. You might be getting 5 pieces or 6 pieces, which is better than for you to have cut it into 8 equal parts, and at the end of the day the length of the 8 equal parts is not up to the width of the wrapper that you need. I hope you understand what I'm getting at. So that is that on the wrapper. When we get to the sewing machine, I'll be folding the edges neatly. The upper and the lower part needs no folding, like I said earlier, since it is not fraying. Also, I'll be showing you how to join your aso-oke, like I said earlier, because you need to be careful when joining it so that you will not end up using more allowance than necessary. This is the plain aso-oke that you saw at the beginning of this video. I've gone ahead to join it. This is what we are going to use for the blouse. So I joined 8 pieces for the blouse as well. But when I was cutting this out, I did not cut it into 8 equal parts, because doing that means I will have so much pieces that will be left as waste instead of this old one. This one that I have now is extra, which is fine. It is better that way. I can still use this for bubu. It can be used to make a cap. It can be used for so many things. So here's what I did. I know that the length of the blouse that I'm working with is 29. So 1 inch folding allowance, that is 30. You know, 30 for the right front and 30 for the back. In total I have 60. But because I know that it is aso-oke and it might tend to fray, I went ahead to measure out 65 inches. You know that each pieces of this aso-oke is 2.5 yards, but I went ahead to measure out 65 inches each. So I did not cut it out into 8 equal parts like I did for the wrapper, because that will be tantamount to wasting it. Alright, so I went ahead to cut out 65 inches, as you can see that I'm measuring. So all the excess that I'm supposed to have, I have it as a whole that can still be useful for any other thing. But if this is confusing, just go ahead and cut your pack into eight different size like you did for the wrapper and join it. Alright, so like I said earlier, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I would like for you to take note of something before we continue on the cutting of the blouse. You can see when I measured the width of the plain aso-oke, I had 6 point something inches thereabout. But when I measured the width of the pattern aso-oke, I had 7 inches. Because that pattern aso-oke is of a better quality than this plain one, I could not get that same quality in the plain color. That was why I went for this. So all these factors come to play when you are making an aso-oke outfit. Alright, so in case you join your own 8 pieces and the length is not up to the 55 inches plus that mine was, not to worry, it might just be that the aso-oke is not wide enough. Now this is my fabric for the blouse. I folded it into 2 and I'll go ahead and fold it into 4, because when you are making buba, the shoulder area usually is not meant to have a joining. It is meant to be on folds like that. So I'm gonna have to fold it into 4 equal parts. So because I cut out length 65, the length that I'm having there will definitely be more than 30. That is the shoulder area, and like I said earlier, it is supposed to be on fold. In fact, it is compulsory. It's not meant to have a joining. Now, after folding into 4 equal parts, from the shoulder that way, I'll go ahead and measure out the length of the blouse, which is 30 inches. Now, to know the width of the buba or the blouse, you can get a pre-existing blouse owned by the client and just measure the width, that is the wideness, or depending on how big or how free the client wants the buba to be. But if you are making like a modern blouse, you can just use the biggest measurement of the person. Like if I was to make for myself, I'll be dividing my hip measurement into 4 on fold, then I'll be adding just 3 inches extra to it for the wideness. I believe that is fine. That is usually how it would be for a modern buba. But if you are making a like an old fashioned buba or blouse, or for an older client, you might just want to get their pre-existing blouse to measure the wideness. So I'll be measuring the wideness here. So what I have here is 28 inches. It means when it's unfold, it is 14. But of course, I won't be measuring out that 14 directly. I'll be adding 1.5 inch to it to make it 15.5 unfold. So when I marked it this way, I noticed that I can still fold my aso-oke fabric in such a way that it would not fray, okay, because if I cut it at this point, definitely it is going to fray. That was why off camera I went ahead to fold it this way. So I did not fold it into 4 equal parts again in terms of the width. So the excess that I was supposed to have in pieces, I now have it as a whole like that. All right, so when I folded it like this, what I have here is 16 inches, which is fine. I prefer this than having to cut it out and it's going to fray. But if you don't mind, please by all means go ahead and cut it off. So instead of cutting off that place, I'm just going to lose it neatly. So what that means is that the side of this blouse is not going to fray. I won't have to weave it or anything like that. Again, this is my personal preference. You can still do it the way I was supposed to earlier, and you will just have to weave your blouse immediately. So here I've gone ahead to remove that excess there. So it means I have 1, 2, 3 pieces left. It means it is only 5 pieces that I have here that I folded into 2, then now folded into 4 for the front and the back. Now let's proceed. After which I went ahead to remeasure the length, which is 30 inches, and proceed to the neckline. The neck width that I'm working with is 4 inches and the neck depth is 4.5. So I'm working with 4 by 4.5. Then I'm just going to connect it together and give it a U-shaped like this. Now the next thing to do is to cut off the neckline, but I will not be cutting it off yet because the day I filmed this cutting process was not the day that I had the intention of sewing it. And since it's aso-oke and it frays a lot, I did not want it to fray and the neck become larger than what I want. So when it's time to sew it, that is when I will be cutting it off. I won't be cutting off the neckline yet. I'll just go ahead and cut it off at the length. Now we are done with the main body of the blouse. We are not cutting out any armhole for buba. You just need to notch the shoulder that way so that when you want to fix your sleeve, it will be easy. But again, since it is aso-oke, I'm just going to indicate that with my chalk. Now moving on to the sleeve. The remaining 3 piece left is what I'll be using to cut out the sleeve. I'll just go ahead and fold it into 4. Again, like I did for the main body of the blouse, I'll be measuring the sleeve length and width from the pre-existing blouse that I'm working with. So the sleeve width unfold that way is 14 inches. By the time I add my sewing allowance 1.5, so I need 15.5 unfold. And the length of the sleeve, this is a short sleeve, all right, it is 12 inches. I'll be adding my joining allowance and my folding allowance. Remember that that one is a lace, so it has a selvage area, so it does not need to be folded at the end. But this is an aso-oke, I would need to fold it, so you want to factor that in. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure out the length and the width, then cut it out. And that is it. The blouse is ready to be sewn and joined together. So this is how we are going to fix it. Now it's time to head over to the sewing machine to couple all of this together. Now to join your aso-oke, here's what you do not want to do. You can't place it on each other like this and join it together the way we would have regularly joined a two-piece, but rather you want it to overlap on each other like this. Can you see that that's overlapping? And when you're overlapping, you do not want to overlap it too much. You can just use 1/4 inch. In this case, I'm only using that little brown part, all right, so that you will not end up exhausting all the width of your aso-oke. Just overlap it little as much as you know that when you finish sewing it, it is not going to open. Alright, maximum you just overlap with half an inch. Personally, I don't use up to that. So that is how I usually join my aso-oke. Once you are done, you just want to check it like this and make sure that there's no space. Then you just continue joining it like that. Afterwards, I went ahead to sew it off at the sides. This is the gele and the equile, and I used four piece each. The gele is 4 piece each and the equile is 4 piece each. Remember that we have a total of 8 piece in the pack. The next thing would be to trim off the uneven ends on the wrapper that I showed you on the cutting table earlier, and fold it off at the sides. Now, unlike Ankara or lace where you have the luxury of making the folds big, so I'm not going to fold it as wide as I would have if I was working with an Ankara or lace fabric. So this is the sides. Off camera, I've gone ahead to sew off my belt. Now this is dependent on what you want. Your belt can just be a small tiny rope, but my personal preference is to make this belt wide. So I went ahead to make it off camera, and now I'll be attaching it like this to this two sides, to the two ends of the wrapper. As you can see, the two belt has been fixed successfully. The wrapper is ready at this point. It only needs to be ironed, and I'll set this aside. Moving on to the blouse, the first thing I did was to cut out the neckline since I am now ready to sew it. Afterwards, I went ahead to turn the neckline using a bias. I would advise you to use a matching color for your bias, but I'm working with black here today. But use a matching color for your bias, please. So you just want to place it. The bias already has a folded part that will guide you on where to sew. So since the aso-oke does not really have a front or a back, so you can just place it anywhere. Once we are done sewing it round like this, then you can now go ahead and turn it to the other side and flip the bias on it this way, and voila, you have successfully sewed the neckline neatly with your bias. Afterwards, I moved over to the hemline and I just sewed it off using 1 inch like this, both the front and the back. And the next thing to do would be to attach the sleeve, but before that we have to sew the sleeve. The first thing I did was to sew it off at the hem. Remember the 2 inches that I said I'll be folding the hem of the sleeve with? Yes, that's what I'm doing here. Afterwards, I went ahead to fold it into two and sew it off at the side using the measurement you worked with when you were cutting it out. As you can see, I had to measure it. This is me sewing it off. Now the next thing you want to do is to note the center of the sleeve. It was your regular fabric, you can notch it, but I do not like cutting aso-oke unnecessarily, so I went ahead to chalk it. I also chalked the shoulder line on the main blouse. Now to sew it, you just want to match up the center of the sleeve with the shoulder line. You can use your pin to hold it in place and just go ahead and sew it off using the allowance that you added to the side of the blouse. So the allowance you added to the side of the blouse should be the same sewing allowance you added to the height of the sleeve, because it just has to match up. If you added 1 inch, use 1 inch to sew it. If you added 2 inches, use 2 inches to sew it. But advise you use between 1.5 to 2 inches. And this is what I have after sewing. Note that I'm yet to sew the side of the blouse, but after fixing your sleeve, you want to have something like this. So here's how you want to fold your sleeve inside, so that now we can sew it off at the sides. So using the same allowance that you used to sew the sleeve, you want to start from the end of that sleeve like that and sew it off, but you will not be sewing it off to the hem. It needs to have a slit. Now the slit is dependent on your preference. You can use between 3 inches to 5 inches. Just do not sew it all the way. You need to leave a slit on your blouse like this. And of course, after doing that, you need to make the sleeve appear neat by just folding it like this. When you get to the apex of the slit, you want to sew it across this way This way you are sure that the slit is not going to pull or loose, and just continue from the other side, and voila, you successfully hem the slit neatly, and the blouse is ready to be ironed and worn. And that will be all for today. Now, did you gain value? Did you learn something new? Did you enjoy the tutorial? If the answer to all of this is yes, then kindly let me know in the comment below. Hit the like button, also share. Okay, you don't want to enjoy all of this alone, and subscribe if you are yet to. You can also follow me on other social media platforms. It's Easy Sewing with Tyke. Till I see you in my next tutorial. Bye.